do this. So, ladies, gentlemen, and individuals of all persuasions, without further ado, let's begin. Actually, that came off as really sinister. Hello?
Hello.
Hey! It works!
It works. Amazing. I think this is actually the first ever Discord call I've ever done.
Okay, then I feel incredibly honoured. Ladies, gentlemen, and individuals of all persuasions, it is my incredibly overexcited pleasure. The reason why I've been dancing around in my seat all feckin' day is that for a small time, I get to introduce you all to Rami Ismail, one half
Hello.
of the indomitable Flounder.
I like this intro.
Thank you. I'm using the really, really good picture of you from the award ceremony. If that's
Oh
right.
yeah, that's a good photo.
So let me bring it to interview mode, and I'm gonna post that one. So, dude, we've been jamming on Nuclear Throne today, and I've spent the entire time being like, "Oh, we're playing this for no reason, like no reason at all, just because." I do want to say off the bat, thank you for making time. It did sound like you had a lot of stuff going on over at where are you right now?
I am currently in San Francisco.
What are you kicking in San Fran for, if you don't mind my asking?
Well, if I could tell you, then I would tell you. But let's just say tons of meetings. There's a lot of cool stuff happening in the games industry, and yeah.
Well, I mean, sorry, go for it, dude.
There's a ton of cool stuff happening.
I mean, you're doing your own bloody event this year, which I'm stoked for.
So am I. That's honestly one of the most exciting. I mean, this year so far has been full of amazing initiatives finally coming to fruition. Yeah, there's just meditations came out.
Yes.
Which that was genuine, like without exaggeration, that was a year's worth of work, right?
Yeah.
And then Flounder obviously announced Ultra Bugs, which is a super fun, super small, interesting game, which I'm just very excited for. Like Flounder has kind of been quiet for 2.5 years.
You guys, you have been on stealth mode for a while, and you know there was talk, there were rumblings, and now we're getting to see some of what's going on.
Yeah, I mean it was kind of fun to watch, right? Like I don't know, like. Flounder was sort of all over the news for 5.5, 6 years from 2010 to 2017 or something. And after Nuclear Throne released, me and JW were just kind of tired, honestly. Like it's, like game development is quite exhausting at times.
Oh heck yeah.
So me and JW looked at each other, and we infamously don't like each other very much. On a personal basis, love working with the guy, but hanging out is not our forte. So after Nuclear Throne, we were just kind of tired of Flounder and kind of tired of each other. So we took a break, and I think it was very good for us. Minute, obviously on JW's end, an incredible game. Like no two ways about it. Like,
Yes.
what an achievement.
I have nothing to add on how good Minute is. That game is still good.
It's painfully good, right? Like I just like upsettingly good. And then there's obviously I worked on a lot of the international sort of communities. I've been traveling around the world, meeting up with local government, local developers, people everywhere. And then getting meditations and GameDev.world ready. And now we're after 2 years of break. Me and JW kind of looked at each other and went, "Hey, we should make some video games again." And you know what? Wait, somebody in your chat. Okay, this is cool. This is just cool.
Oh hell yeah!
This is cool. Somebody in the chat just linked to my Wikipedia page, which is new. I didn't know I had a Wikipedia page until the last time I checked.
Well,
it just linked through to Flounder. I've always wanted a Wikipedia page.
So, what I will say is to lovely individuals in chat. So we've got Rami's time for a little bit. Now, obviously, dude, you will be invited, back in the future. And again, thanks for making time for us today. So we'll be doing a quick fire round of questions at the end for a couple of good ones. Mr. Rami, if there are any questions you see in chat that you just want to jump in on, feel free to interrupt me, because this lot are sick of me talking all the time anyway. Just read out the person and the question if you would not mind, so they know that you're getting your personal attentions. So
in the meanwhile, let me also, because this is fun, let me drop this on Twitter real quick.
Oh dear Lord!
Oh dear.
It's all right. I briefed our team. They're ready.
Okay, good.
We have some.
This is my favorite thing, where you want to log into something that goes, you need the authenticator code.
The magical key from the other thing.
Yes, you need the thing and the other thing, and then from the other thing you grab the thing, and then you can tweet about something.
I'm so happy we're done with dongles. I'm happy with that.
I mean, the dongles were kind of cool. They kind of felt sci-fi, didn't they?
I guess a little. I've been playing Resident Evil 2, and your stars badge, the stars badge when you find it, turns into a USB dongle, and I'm like, that's the most 90s sci-fi thing, of all time.
That is pretty sci-fi. Okay, let me see. Let me get this tweet right. Where's your Twitter? Where did your Twitter go?
I can throw you the link, good sir, if you would like to pink it to bounce it over. So that's that one there. So I guess the only real challenge. No, that's the wrong one. Fecking Hindle, you bastard!
I found you.
I came off the back end of a stream the other day, and I did one of those. For every like, I'll write something stupid, and now it's got 150 likes, and I'm gonna have to write 150 facts about vampire zombie crabs.
I mean, just go watch some Buffy the Vampire Slayer or something.
Hells yeah.
Lots of facts about vampires there. I think that's the only scientific show about vampires I've ever watched.
Although they are doing a TV series of What We Do in the Shadows, which I think will be kind of, at least from the scientific community, a continuation of that.
Yeah, looks like it. So I'm up for it.
So one thing struck me when you said you're going to be able to jump on for a little bit is really there are so many good points to articulate on and talk about with your good self that it's really hard to point down on one. Like your the project that you put out this year, which Meditations, has been something fresh and original and something really invigorating for not just people, but for the dev community as well. Like this validation of tiny games are good.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the goals. Like Meditations, like many good things, it started by accident.
Okay.
Right, and this is how video games work. I played a little game called Tempest, which is available on itch.io by a developer named Tuck. And Tuck just made this very small, very interesting a little puzzle game. It doesn't even reveal itself as a puzzle game. It just a very simple interface. You click, and then you notice that some clicks make the bars fill up, and some clicks empty the entire screen. And then you kind of establish for yourself that it's a puzzle game, and then you try to solve the puzzle, right?
Okay.
And it took me 5 or 6 minutes to figure out, and sort of the core conceit of the game is that it forces you to slow down a little, right? And this was this very stressful game, a very stressful day for me, and the game just kind of slowed me down and chilled me out, and I was like, wow, isn't it amazing how much impact such a tiny game can have on your day, on the way you feel.
Okay.
But then I just went, wouldn't it be cool if there was one of these games for every day, just a little surprise that colors your day? So for 2 weeks I did nothing with that thought, and then I went, you know what? Is this a PG-13 stream?
Ish. Go for it.
Right. So I went, fuck it. I have the network. I can make this happen, right? If nobody's done it, maybe I can make it happen. So I went for it. I emailed Tuck if I could use Tuck's game for January 1st, and then started reaching out to as many developers as I could, as wide a range of developers as well. I didn't just want, like close friends of mine. I wanted to make sure that it was friends of their friends and people that are working on their first game, people that haven't released their first game, people that have been in the industry for 15 years. And then I gave them a number of very simple rules that I kind of designed um, to make the games a little personal.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the things I really wanted. Is I wanted it to be little meditations, right? Like a little insight into not just what games can be, but also what game developers can be. Because we tend to have this very homogenous idea of what a game developer is. And even when people are aware that game developers can be quite diverse, very often only think of people in the context of game developers. Well, we do, we're people. And we're people with lives, we're people with thoughts outside of game development, we're people with hobbies, people with pets, people with friends and family, and lives and loss and everything. And I kind of wanted to see that in games. Like, it's always been my belief that games can do that. So I said no language, right? No text, no words. Let the game speak, because I believe play is global. And then
So it doesn't kill you trying to localize into a gajillion different proper languages.
Also that. The second, make it in under 6 hours, because everybody was working for free. And I would hate for people to spend like 6 weeks on a project that they won't get anything out of except for being part of this art project.
Yeah. Sorry, my lot are currently giving me a load of crap because I'm nodding along with what you're saying.
Yeah.
He's saying good things I agree with. It doesn't need flail will.
And third, they had to pick a date of the year that hadn't been picked yet, and then make the game inspired by that date.
Ooh.
And the hope was that would mean that people would make, because it's not a direct, like I wasn't asking people make a personal game, right? I was asking people pick a day and make a game about that day. So if somebody wanted to make something personal, they could do that. If they wanted to make something a little more traditional, a little bit more puzzly, then they could do that too. So we've kind of seen all sorts of things, and it's, my God, it's a lot of work. Gosh.
Yeah. I mean, focusing on the good fluffy elements of this, because we could get into the logistics of that till the cows come home. I mean, just back-end server stuff alone, but the myriad of things that have been put forward through meditation. I mean, simple little cute metaphors. The sheep herding metaphor I thought was a very simple one. You know, the great distraction of game dev of trying to get everything rustled into the same place and heading to that project over there and trying to move that one in, and whilst you're doing that, the others are moving out. Today's one I didn't understand, but I was very happy that I played it. And I think I'd need to mentally stew on it a little longer. But I played this game by this dork called Nuclear Throne. You've probably not heard of it. It's pretty cool.
No.
But, okay. I was playing that for 3 hours.
Is there a dog in it?
There's a robot that I have adopted as my son, so I'm happy.
Oh, that's fair enough. I've honestly, with meditations, I've been impressed by the breadth of the games. Like the one thing that's very sad for me, and this is the curse of being a creator, is I'm the only person in the world that will never get to experience meditations, because I have to test every game. I have to set it up. I'm the only person on Earth.
Yeah. When you see it broken apart and put back together again, you can't have that fresh experience.
But also the feeling of playing one of those games every day, and having a day between them to think about them, seeing them as a surprise. I played all of these games in a context in which they were surprises to me, because obviously they were sent to me. I had to boot them up, had to test them. But talking to a lot of the people that are playing meditation, they say oh, it's so nice that you can There was this game about scattering your mother's ashes, right? One of the games, very personal, very honest game, very vulnerable game.
Yeah.
And I got an email from somebody that said it was nice to play that game and to feel to look outside and to feel that day must have been like cold.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the things we've talked about on here is, games that tackle difficult emotional states, things that tackle real feels. Sometimes, because they are an experience that is at least 2 hours long, it's very hard to... Like, I will put my hand up. I've still not played That Dragon Cancer. I know I should, and I know it's going to wreck me, but it's that...
It will.
That moving into that space is going to require such an emotional fortitude. Whereas Meditations is actually reminding me of kind of like peak Newgrounds, where I would be playing like 5 or 6 like 4 to 10 minute games every day, and they'd range from the stupid and the juvenile to the genuinely moving, and you didn't really know until you were rolling into it. Meditations every day presents you something that you don't know how much of your emotional state you're putting in there, and if it was any longer, if it was any more intense, it would be straining to such a degree. And so I guess that's my feels. It's a similar experience that I had from back in the classic Newgrounds days, in a really good way.
Somebody told me that it reminded them of playing a song every day. Okay. And I actually really like that metaphor. Like, it's a simple thing. It might color your day. You might get it. You might not get it. But it's like, it's closer to like a 3-minute song as a structure than it is to how we tend to think of video games as these like hour-long experiences.
Yeah.
It's like, hit play, do the thing. It won't be more than 5 minutes, and then you have a feeling.
Yeah.
So, and maybe we need more of that.
I am absolutely down, and creating a platform where people can deliver that without having to invest, like you were saying, like 6 weeks, 6 months of their time. That's fucking rad. The other thing that I wanted to do both a plug and a touch on is your international conference that you've also been organising. Like, fecking yo. Multiple languages, online base. This is fecking badass. And do you mind just, from your own words, telling these lovely folks a couple of things about it?
Yeah. So GameDev.world is a live-streamed online games conference that will be broadcasting from June 21st to June 23rd. It'll feature 32 speakers from all over the world speaking in 8 different languages, translated to 8 different languages. We will have talks in English, in Spanish, in Brazilian Portuguese, in Japanese, in simplified Chinese, in Russian, in Arabic, and in French.
Oh, what is the URL, just so we can link it for these lovely people?
It is gamedev.world, and that's the full URL and the name of the conference. The conference is entirely free. There will be an archive afterwards, a library that is also entirely free. We will be using closed captioning, so you'll be able to read along with everything. And it's my belief. Like, here's the thing: I believe that live conferences are going to be a thing in the next few years, right? Like, it doesn't seem like much of a stretch to say that. And like with Presskit, do Presskit, which was a free Presskit tool that I made.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that if you wanna wreck a market, the way you do it is by doing it first, by doing it best, and by doing it free.
Yes.
Right.
It disrupts so much. So, dude, one of the things, I guess this is as much a thank you as a statement, which is, since I moved from being like dev side to being content creation side, like, press kit is gold dust. Trying to find out about a game that doesn't have a press kit or a press.kit setup is like pulling teeth. Yep. And my lovely viewers have heard me rant wholeheartedly, where I have to go into like Google image search to find stuff out. And also, just quickly, Jan Games or anyone else who follows or does cool things, as we only have Rami for a short amount of time, I don't want to get too bogged down with all of those. But I will be thanking everybody after for anything that you'll do. All right, so don't think I'm ignoring you. We have a limited Rami resource.
So yeah, that's also the goal with GameDev.world. Like, the goal is, I believe live conferencing is going to be a thing. I believe access to information should be free. I believe the language barrier is not something that we should still be struggling with in 2019. I don't believe that the conferences that we have right now do a good enough job of making the knowledge that gets created in that, the content that gets created in them, to make that available.
What are you talking about? Are you saying that tiered badges for the largest game developer conference might be a ways to set like a class system within game development?
I am saying that if the largest collection of information and knowledge and expertise that we have in our games industry is a metaphor for a bank vault, that we have a problem. Information should be in a library, not in a vault. It should not be locked away. And I understand that if you're a for-profit organization, that this is a thing that might need to happen. And I understand that something like the Game Developers Conference has incredible value to us as a community, in that it brings us together, in that it allows us to talk about topics that are not easy to talk about when we're online. But I do also believe that maybe, just maybe, it's time to start separating those two. That sharing of knowledge, that should be something that is available anywhere. And that if an event like GDC or any of the other big conferences want to earn money, they got to earn money off of the other value. They got to start earning money on stuff besides locking away knowledge, besides access to knowledge. So this GameDev.world, honestly, it's not a shot at GDC. It's an addendum. It's an addition. This is how we should share knowledge in 2019. It is the point that everybody on the planet, no matter where they are, we cover 80% of the world with these 8 languages, right? 80% of the world will be able to go to GameDev.world from their home. They'll be able to do it from their home, from their schools, from offices, from venues that are organized by anybody for free. People will be able to watch these talks everywhere. And that's how it should be. In 2019, there is no reason for it to be any other way but this. Free, available across the language barrier. So let's tear it down.
I'm entirely fine with that. One thing that at least I'm seeing from here is how games are sold, how games are distributed, is that we are seeing that globalization. We are seeing that, a little plucky 2-person team in South Africa can release a game worldwide now with no one else's help. They don't need a monstrous publisher. They don't need... they should certainly look into doing PR and marketing. I'm not saying don't do it. But they don't need a massive publisher or a huge firm to handle that for them. And now we're seeing the decentralization of Steam. Like, maybe let's decentralize the knowledge to do the thing as well, maybe?
Yeah, let's just make sure that the default for the future is not something locked away. The default for the future is free, online, available to everybody. Knowledge should be accessible. It should be inclusive. Knowledge should be inclusive. It shouldn't be as it is now, where it's only in English. It's only available if you can travel to conferences halfway across the world. And again, this is not just GDC. Think about it this way. I travel the world all the time, right? Yeah. I'm in a conference in Moscow, right? This event called DevGum, one of my favorite events of the year. They do this amazing thing called the Game Roast. It's one of my favorite events. One of my favorite things to do each year. They have these game awards. Okay, so the Game Roast, they have a games award, and if you submit your game, you can also submit it to the roast. And then 4 or 5 roasters, which are industry veterans, get to go on stage and then just roast the game for 5 minutes.
That sounds amazing.
We just get to wreck the game as hard as we can. And we can pre-record, we can find bugs, we can do whatever we want to make the game look as bad as possible on the stage. And then the trick is to kind of find a good balance between being as brutal as possible but also giving good feedback. Yes. Right? The developers submit it so that they get good feedback from an industry expert. And then the developer gets 1 minute to defend themselves. And then the audience gets to vote. And then this being Russia, the loser has to drink whatever the panel of experts mix together. Now, I don't drink alcohol, so for me, it always ends up being a weird mix of Coca-Cola and Fanta and some other sodas, and it's always awful. But for the other judges, it's way worse, from what I can tell.
Oh, yeah. That feels like the only part of that contest that I'd be trained for.
Yeah, so I go to these events like in Russia, right? And then I do the keynote, right? And room is full, which is always lovely. Like because I know half of the people can't really understand me, so they've got these little translator earpieces in and everything. And I always feel bad for the interpreters because I talk really fast, um, and they have to
Shocking.
translate it. Yeah. So I try to slow down a little. I try to make it easier on the interpreter. But there will always be somewhere during the event. There'll be this room, and I'll walk by, and there'll be this developer on stage, and he or she will be speaking. And the room is just full, right? Entirely packed. Everybody is there. The entire event, like all the other event spaces, are gone. People have left their booths. Like they're there for this person, and I have no idea who the hell this person is. Right? I've never heard of them, and they're speaking in Russian, and I don't understand what they're saying. But like clearly, everybody cares, and I'm just wondering, what is this person talking about? Like, what knowledge does this person have? What expertise? What video games? That the entire event came out to watch it. I'm just thinking, how sad is it that we think that in the English-speaking world we have all of the knowledge, right? That it's just there. But all around the world, there's this amazing vault of knowledge. This amazing, not vault, amazing library of knowledge that we don't have access to because our events are in English.
Yeah, and
Like one of the few speakers, we haven't really announced speakers yet, but one of the speakers we have is a person who worked on one of the prettiest games of last year, but they don't speak English very well.
okay.
They speak Spanish, and it's like, come on, like this person is not going to be speaking at like GDC, is not going to be speaking at Indicate, is not because the language is wrong. I can't stand that we don't get to listen to this person talk about how they made this game because there's a language mismatch. It's 2019, for God's sake, we can do this.
Yeah.
And you know what? Game Dev World, I've been working on this for 3 years. I'm without exaggeration, the interpretation alone, $150,000. Right, a team of almost 80 people will be working for it to make this happen.
I mean, that's not even the cost of that's not even the cost of Microsoft's fucking diamond badges.
That's the thing. 150,000, 80 people. You know what? It's expensive. It's not easy. It's a lot of work. But honestly, these big events, they can do it. They can absolutely do it.
Yeah.
They just choose not to because it's cheaper not to.
True. Chrono and Joybent, thank you. Just thank you, and I will thank you again later. One of the things that we got really lucky with was it's not Mulaka. Oh yes, Mulaka, which was an incredible game, and we got lucky because their PR guy is bilingual. So he brought a bunch of their team speak, varying levels of English. And they came on and they were teaching us about how, the Mexican government gives really good grants and looks after game dev teams who do games based on culture. And their whole thing is about the Talumara and learning about that. But learning about how they develop games in that sphere of the world, we got some crazy good knowledge from them. And that's just lucky because they happen to have bilingual individuals in their team. Like, that's a whole sphere I would not have had access to if they didn't speak English.
Imagine 24 hours of that.
I'm down.
24 hours of that for free, June 21st to 23rd. It's a ridiculous amount of work, Will. Like, let me not, like...
Oh, God, yeah.
The setting up an event for the first time is ridiculous. We're still working on more sponsorships because, doing the whole thing is expensive. I want to make sure that everybody looks... that everybody is like streaming from a similar looking location because I don't want people to look at one stream in like a beautiful office and the other stream in like a bedroom and they go like, oh, this beautiful office person clearly knows better. Like, no, everybody should look like they know what they're doing, look the same. So I want to send everybody the same laptop. I want to send everybody the same microphone, the same camera, the same light setup, the same banner. And as we work, we just find new problems and then new solutions, but most of them cost money.
Yes.
So we're still looking for sponsorships. If anybody in the chat wants to help, at gamedev.world, you can sign up sign-ups are the most valuable thing you can give us right now, unless you can sponsor us with bags of money.
Yeah, Lizzie's been really good dropping in. These are the points where I kind of wish wish I was dancing in circles with people that had those kinds of monies to sponsor you. But these days, I'm indie as feck, man. Like, these people in chat basically keep me alive now. Now, Stefan Barr had a quick question, which I don't know if it was to me or to you, but I think it's a valid thing that's worth either stating or restating, which is, do all the streams get archived to watch later? From Game Dev World, are you going to be keeping all those videos for people to rewatch later and learn from?
So yes, we are publishing everything integrally. That means that not just the videos will be posted, also the transcripts, the Q&As, the Q&A transcripts, the translations into 8 languages will allow people to do community translations for all the other languages. So if your language is not there, somebody from your community who's bilingual can translate any talk to any language, and we will host that after validating that on the website as well. Any software that we are creating, because we need to create software, because nobody has ever done that before. The only companies that have done translation, live translation on our scale, are the United Nations, FIFA, and the Eurovision Song Contest.
Okay, now there's a party. Like,
yeah, right.
One of those 3 groups of people knows how to party, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, we're actually working with some of the translation teams that work on Eurovision, because they're the only ones that are for hire. I can't hire the UN and I can't hire FIFA.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
But I don't know if Eurovision is as big a deal in the rest of the world as it is in the UK and Europe. So I don't know.
Eurovision, just imagine that everybody for one day has no honor and then gets on a stage in the most amazingly beautiful, outrageous, flamboyant, ridiculous things to perform a musical song for their country. And then all of Europe just votes alongside predetermined political lines.
It's brilliant.
And then one piano will catch on fire.
At least.
At least one. It's not a Eurovision if no piano burns.
That's what I've been saying for a great many years. So would you say that GameDev.World is essentially going to be the Eurovision of game conferences?
Yes. The Eurovision of game conferences. You know what? I need to update my tagline.
You're welcome. You know, I'm not even charging. Like, this is free.
Wow.
This isn't even my usual consultancy nonsense.
Yeah.
Man, it's good to talk to you. Like, usually these are the conversations that I get to have with you at 4 a.m. on the last day of GDC.
Yep. Yeah, it's good to catch up. It's a shame. The more work I do in the industry, the less time I have for the industry very often.
Yeah.
And it's a weird paradox that I didn't really expect, you know? As I grew into the position I have now, where I can actually create meaningful change, I'm at a level of influence and network where I can nudge certain contracts certain ways, right? I can help platforms establish their indie strategy, stuff like that. And then it's, now I'm so busy that I barely have time to be part of industry, which is why I think that I'm working on Ultrabugs is so exciting to me. Just working on a video game again, makes me feel back in the groove, back in the industry.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to sort of fix it from above.
Yeah. Not to compare, but more to empathize that. While I love what I'm doing now, I do feel that disconnect, and I'm looking forward to just seeing everybody at GDC, seeing what everyone's doing, and catching up with everybody for that very reason. Because for me, I feel like I'm cheating these days, not having a project coming up, not having a campaign and a deadline, and trying to hit a launch date. I feel like I'm just skiving, as if someone's be like, "Mate, you're not doing any work. What are you doing?"
Yeah, I know the feeling. And then you're still working really hard, but then because you're working very hard, you're exhausted, so you don't have the energy to do anything else, and then you feel even worse because everybody else is working really hard, so why are you not working really hard? But you're forgetting that you are working really hard. I know that feeling.
Which is also, again, thank you for making time for this. Oh, excuse me, with cheeky burps. So I guess the other thing that I wanted to touch on real quickly before we, unleash a couple of questions from our lovely chat-like peoples. So, chat peeps, have a think about some good questions. Rami will be judging you on some cheeky stuff.
Okay.
On the caliber of your questions. So, but I guess the thing that I wanted to ask is, what was it that drove you to travel and speak as much as you have? Of all the peeps, like, you beat even like Kate Edwards for amount of events per year and travel.
Oh yeah,
all of that.
Yeah, easily. We've compared. So the honest truth is, it started by accident.
Okay.
I'm from the Netherlands, right? A small country in the middle of the west coast of Europe, and it is a lovely country. I love the Netherlands. It's beautiful. It's well organized. It's socialist. It's just a lovely place to grow up. And there was just one downside to that country when me and JW dropped out of school and started Flounder. When we were trying to promote our first game, we got it into the largest newspaper in the Netherlands. And it turns out that the Netherlands has 20 million native speakers, which means that we had a reach of 20 million, of which only a percentage reads the newspaper, of which only a percentage plays games, of which only a small percentage cares about indie games. So, and when all was said and done, it wasn't that much reach. So we decided that the only way to fix that was to go to the UK and get our game into, I don't know, like The Guardian or something? Like some English... Some English-speaking something.
Because The Guardian does game coverage, so yeah.
Yeah, so maybe if we could get it into the English press, then we could be filthy rich indie developers, right? Like, we were 21, and we didn't know what was up. We didn't have money because we were university dropouts. So I decided to try and do a thing that I've always been pretty okay at, which is public speaking. And I'd heard that if you would go and public speak at some Dutch events, maybe somebody from the UK or the US would notice you and invite you to the UK or the US. And then, ta-da, now I could go and talk to the press there. So I did that, and after the third event, I got invited to the UK. And then that talk was received very well and kind of like went around the world. Dutch people speak English very well. We speak English, German, French. We learn a lot of languages because so few people speak ours.
Okay.
So I started going to more events. I started getting invited to more events, and then at some point the most curious thing started happening, right? Because my talks were getting pretty popular. I apparently had a good mix of like motivational and informational. Like my talks were usually like impromptu or felt spontaneous, which they are. I never prepare my talks. I usually write them.
I've seen a few of them. They've been stonking, so it does get, for what little value it has, the Will seal of approval. But please continue.
Nice. I will put that on my next presentation.
Yes! We have a logo and everything now.
Okay, then actually send that over. I promise I will put that on my next presentation.
Yes!
So the... yeah, that's in like 3 days. Yeah, send that over. It'll be in Belgium. The Belgian people will love it. So this curious thing started happening, right? My talk started getting more popular, and suddenly I started getting these emails from like Brazil and Indonesia and Uruguay and countries all over the world that were just asking if I would please come do a talk in their country because they were a young starting community. And they never had speakers there, and I was like, okay, sure, can you fly me out, right? Because I didn't have money, and it turns out neither did they, so I could never go to those talks. I could never do them. But I always said like, hey, let's stay in touch. If something ever changes, we'll figure it out.
Was that thing a certain game about fishing?
That thing was absolutely a certain thing about fishing. So when Ridiculous Fishing came out, JW and I went from being struggling indie developers to basically being kind of rich. And we're not like we're not like notch level rich, right? We do well enough. We have enough money to be comfortable and to make games and to support ourselves and people around us.
Yeah. Well, and this is
But
not to toot your horn live on air, but it was one of the things that I've discussed a lot is that when, especially small teams make an inordinate amount of cash, like you get to see the real like color of the caliber of what happens next. There's a thing in UK game dev, which is when all the managers start showing up in Ferraris, you need to get the heck out of there because it's about to go south fast.
Yeah, it's Teslas nowadays, by the way.
Yeah. But
when the Teslas show up, run.
Oh god, yeah. They park themselves. It's horrifying. What we saw from the outside was that you made Mad Bank on Ridiculous Fishing, which was deserved. Like you'd done the indie struggling like cup ramen lifestyle for long enough. And then your decision after that point was to use the funds that you had was to travel around and talk at these events. And that's
I was like
heckin' cool.
We got money. I have all these emails from all these people who couldn't afford me to fly out. I'm half Egyptian, right? I'm not just Dutch. I'm Dutch Egyptian. Being half Egyptian for all of my life, I've wondered why in most movies and most games I see people that look like my Dutch friends kill people that look like my Arab friends. And that made my Dutch friends the heroes because they shot my Arab friends. And it was always confusing to me because if I went to Egypt, their movies wouldn't be the opposite. It wasn't like the Arabs would make movies in which they kill the white people. That wasn't what would happen. What would happen is in the Arab world, they would make movies that were internal things. They were Arabs versus Arabs, but not Arabs versus Americans, not Arabs versus Europeans. That was very, very extraordinarily rare. And I realized that one thing I really wanted from games as well is to see what games look like if they're made with different perspectives, right? I'm curious because I play Call of Duty and I play Battlefield. They're amazing games. I love them, right? Like huge, explosive, like spectacular showcases of like the tour de forces of our industry. Then you know what? That's the same perspective on war. We see over and over again. You are the hero. You run up the beaches. You defeat the Nazis. You win.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to know, what does a game about war look like when it's from a country that's not a country that cares so much about winning wars? What if it's a country that loses wars or a country that suffers wars? Then this Polish studio ended up making a game called This War of Mine, which is
cheery little title, lovely. It's a real like pick yourself up on a Sunday night kind of game. So
very cheerful, yeah, very, yes. By Polish studio 11-bit, and Poland is a country that they don't win wars. Wars happen to them. So when they made a game about war, they made a game about surviving war, not about winning war, not about fighting war, not about being a soldier. No. A game about what war feels like in Poland. And that's fascinating to me because, gosh, doesn't that mean that there's millions of games ideas out there that we haven't seen that go across like the language barrier, that go across everything, honestly.
Hells yes. We've danced a little bit. We played through 1111 Memories Retold, which was definitely... it was reaching for a thing, and I liked that it was non-combative and that it put us on both sides. You know, one side being the idealistic idea of war, and one being the realistic. One being the realities of war, and one being the ideal, and having these two things clash back and forth. I still don't know how I feel on that game.
No, that's fine.
But
the fact that it exists is good.
Yes, God, yes, and that's what I feel so much with a lot of these games that present us with these new perspectives. Dude, I'm getting spoiled here because I'm doing this gig 5 days a week, and I'm picking a different game every day, and we're getting to just tear into these weird and these wonderful. Yeah. And sometimes we're getting such brilliant perspectives that. Not to derail, and we'll get back onto the perspective of conflict. We played Anamorphine, an anamorphine narrative storytelling title, first person. There is one line of spoken dialogue at the end, and everything you are going through someone's memories of events and trying to put them together. And without spoiling too much of it, because I wholeheartedly recommend that game, it was one of the most emotionally raw games I played in a long time. And I did like sit in the bath for like 2 hours afterwards. Like its representation of human relationships was so raw and so true.
No, but that's the thing. Like, I think that I mean, we always talk about how games have the power to like immerse people, to like make people feel lives that they aren't leading.
I didn't mean to laugh at that. Tal.
No, the chat is hilarious.
Yes, Talicus, who's an excellent friend of mine, who I believe. I mean, as you've met so many people, Tal was at a couple of Resd a few years. I believe you two shook hands. I was just saying, I'm going to bed. Someone ping me if Rami says anything about Ridiculous Fishing 2.
Oh, okay. We are not making any Ridiculous Fishing 2 as of yet. So somebody ping Tarlicus, because I definitely said something about Ridiculous Fishing 2 just now.
Thank you, dude.
But... so, yeah, no, but if games have that power, then clearly we should be using that power to see more perspectives, not fewer.
Yeah.
So I started traveling around the world, and it was mind blowing. Like, you know, to be in this industry, you really gotta love game development.
Oh God, yeah.
Because, my God, it's a terrible idea. It's difficult. It's thankless. It's unpredictable. It's risky. It's unstructured. It's not dependable. It's not stable.
Yeah.
You do this because you love it. That's the only reason, right? Because you love it.
Yes.
Now, I thought I knew what that looked like, because I've done everything in my life to be a game developer, right?
Yeah.
Since I was 6, I've wanted to make video games, either be a pilot or be a video game developer. Pilot I stopped with like when I was 11 or something. So I spent the rest of my life just focusing on video games. And you know what? The way I love video games is nothing compared to some of the people I've come across. They love it way more than I do. There's this studio in Africa that I visited, and you know what they do? They print their code. You want to know why they print their code?
Why do they print their code?
They print their code because the power goes out for up to 2 weeks at a time sometimes.
Oh, wow.
So the only way they get to work on their code is with a marker.
Holy crud.
To find bugs. They will do all their level design on grid paper so that when the power goes out, they can keep working on it.
Yeah, you gotta love games. You gotta love games to do that.
Yeah, if I had to do that, I'm not sure I would be in game development. Right? If that was my reality, I'm not sure I could do that.
I think telling that story has done a damage to some of the coders in chat, so I think they're still recovering from that.
Yeah. No, but I was the same way. I was just like, you what? Are you Huh. And then, you know, you talk to like game developers from like the 70s and they're like, oh yeah, I used to do that. But yeah, the people around the world love game development a lot. Because they just keep doing it despite all that. And then, you know, when they're done, they know they got to compete with the entire like Western world.
Yeah.
They know they got to compete with everybody out there. They know they got to compete with companies that have way more resources, that have, you know, electricity that keeps working. Still, they do it because they just want to do it. And that, you know, it just, as I travel the world, it's been a combination of extremely educational, incredibly inspiring, and just humbling. Like, this industry, this medium is a worldwide force, and it won't stop. It's not going to stop. It's not going to stop for anybody. Like, video games, play will happen. Play will happen, has happened for as long as humanity exists. And we all get to be like a tiny part of it.
And that's
right? We get to be
cool.
It's incredible. And it's incredible that there's all these voices around the world doing the same thing, speaking the same language, speaking the language of play, of games. So I guess, you know, to loop it back to game dev world, it's a shame that the conversation about this global language tends to be in English.
Yes.
And I want not only to show people that speak just English how much more world there is out there, right?
Yeah.
I want
Just using your previous example as a jumping off point, like, we teach, big game conferences aren't just about the highbrow, like, conveying emotion. They're about the nuts and bolts. Like, how do you take a concept to market? What could a team that has to contend with 2-week-long power outages and still try and hit a launch date, how do they run a production schedule that functions in that environment? Because I've been in studios where if the internet goes out for like 2 or 3 hours, everyone just loses their shit. Dude, I once got to sit in the pub for like, it was a Sega day, Sega QA. The internet went out and we couldn't download builds. So we just went to the pub for 6 hours. And then we got a text being like, it's not going to be on. Done. And that's hundreds of people who just drank on the company dime. Imagine what the production process is when you know you could lose power at any point and might have to be able to. What kind of like skills has their production team got, and how could that be translated? Like this is knowledge that's not being shared.
Yeah, so I'm excited to share that knowledge. Actually, that studio is one of the reasons we're supporting French. Also, just because it's a major language throughout Africa. But I'm just incredibly excited. Like, I feel like, press kit was big in equalizing opportunity in the games industry because suddenly everybody had access to a good press kit.
Yes, and I don't know. I think I just want to say this for the sake of the conversation, but like up until that point, creating a press kit was something you went to a PR company for, and that was not cheap.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like it was a market. People were asking people to pay money for something that takes less than 3 hours. Yes. And I was like, you know what? Nobody should. Like people were asking for percentages to do a press kit, right? Yeah. Like a 5%, a 10%, a 30%. Like, are you kidding me? This should be free. Yeah. And I feel the same way about getting knowledge in the games industry. Getting knowledge in the games industry should be free. Period.
Little Rails just wanted to say a quick thank you for press kit. Like. I've already said it, but I'll say again, dude. Thank you for press kit.
No worries.
You've helped so many people with that.
Like always, it started with an accident. I think we're running out of time on my end a little. So how about we do some questions?
That would be lovely. So, but bear in mind, friendos, if you've got questions, bring your A game. So know where do you get the inspiration for your games.
So skip that one. If there are silly questions, though, I'll happily take a few of those.
Yeah, so, Rami, just pick out the ones that you really like.
Okay, Fangle Spangle. Can somebody ban Fangle Spangle? Because they literally just posted... They literally just posted my tweet on Q&A.
In all fairness, Rami, if we'd had you for longer, I was literally going to do the same thing to you on stream.
Alright. My inspirations are travel, documentaries, and books. You can also Google that. How do you get into games? I don't know.
Sean's asking, how do you get out?
I don't know how you get into games because when I did it, it was 2010 and the Flash market was still there. Where do you see the industry in 5 years? If I knew that, I would leave. And what about your unannounced next game? It's unannounced. What have you learned from Rami's mom plays games? Oh my god.
Okay, that was just an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah. So, I taught my mom to play games because she followed my career via news. She was reading all the websites. She was reading Polygon and Kotaku and IGN and Gamasutra and GamesIndustry.biz and all of them. And I was like, you've never played a game. We're going to have you play a game. So she started with Final Fantasy 15 on my recommendation. And the thing I learned is that it's really different when you start playing games later on in life because most people start playing games when they're really young. And so they develop this parallel vocabulary to the real world. And then just kind of accept video game worlds for reality.
Yes.
While my mom took 60 years of experience in the real world. So when she sees a cracked wall, she leaves the building because that's structurally unsound. Well, I walk there and blow it up because there's a treasure chest behind. And to me, that's very logical. To my mom, blowing up an unstable wall seems like a very bad idea.
Yeah.
To me, when I come across as a weapon shopkeeper, I buy a gun. To my mom, when she comes across a weapon shopkeeper, a random stranger on the street just tried to sell her a weapon, she's gonna get the hell out of there because that's shady. And she's not wrong.
What are you buying, stranger? Nope,
Yeah.
nope. This guy's got guns under his coat, and I'm out.
Yeah.
Also, I threw the link, at least the video gamer write-up on it, because it is, when you all have time after stream, please give that a read, because it will both make you feel a wonderful sense of loveliness in the world, and it is a great example of how games literacy is an assumed ability within our medium. Sorry,
Yep.
forgive me for cutting you off there, dude.
No, it's fine. How do you get out of games? I've heard that you can just leave, but it probably involves deleting your Twitter account.
No, so Sean, Rami, I don't think it's actually possible, and I don't think we should be giving like these young indies hope that they can get out.
That's fair.
Let's be honest with them.
That's fair. And also, how do we get Will out of games? Make this stream as popular as possible, and he will just stream forever.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
These lot, but that's another story. They've already heard that one.
Let's see. Oh God, it's scrolling now. What do you wish Hope instructors are teaching their college graduate before they enter the industry? I wish that they would teach their graduates that the level that they're operating on is far below what the industry needs, and that is okay. Like, a lot of students come out of schools thinking that they are ready for the industry, and the reality is that they're just not. The games industry is super complicated. It's rapidly moving. There's not a single book that you can write that will still be relevant in 4 years, and your school books are at least 4 years old, right? There's not a single teacher in the games industry that can keep up to date with that because they're also teachers at the moment.
Yeah.
So I wish that teachers would teach that the industry is not a place where knowledge is important. It's a place where curiosity is important, and that they would cultivate that.
Yeah, learning fast adapting abilities was the best thing. Learning to learn fast was the best thing that I got taught, like super early on. And I'm so thankful, because like when I joined the industry, the profession, the sphere of game development, or at least helping with, was you manage a forum. Now it's like you have to be an online personality, content creating, PR, marketing person, but also essentially be the night's watch for a project, because you better believe there's going to be hate.
Yep. That and communication skills.
God, yeah.
Rami, do you have any new takes or insights about game pitches? Game pitches haven't changed a lot, to be honest. It's still try and explain what it is, what is special, and why I should give a shit in about 3 sentences. And then you should be good.
Do consider bringing baked goods to a pitch. It always helps.
It does. Do you have any... what are you advising young devs in regards to the YouTube apocalypse and changing sands of the influencer market? As a game developer right now, we're absolutely and completely screwed. It is... When you think about it, the influencer space is far more competitive than the game space has ever been. But on the other side, the influencer market, the top influencers will make like 40,000 times the amount of money that a game developer on average makes. So I'm not sure. I feel like we took the short end of the straw, because we worked 3 years to maybe make it, and that makes some money, while the top creators can make that same amount of money in a 1-hour video.
Well, we've seen over on the Twitch spaces, we've actually seen this sphere of indie devs who stream both content and the creation of their own titles, and have been able to use that as a legitimate funding method for development, which is feckin' cool.
I mean, I love the influencer market. Let me rephrase it. I don't love the influencer market. I actually kind of don't like the influencer market. What I do love is Twitch. What I do love is live streaming. I think live streaming is one of the coolest things that has happened in years.
Seriously, dude, I am with you. Like, yeah. That's me agreeing very wholeheartedly.
What's the time commitment for volunteer moderators for Game Dev World? It'll be between 6 and 24 hours. Somebody's asking you, how many countries are there developers from?
Oh, feckin' hell. God, for Game Dev World?
No, in general, I think.
So I've only had exposure to a little bit of the Japanese market, a little bit of the Chinese market, mostly mostly Europe up until... Actually, no, right across Europe and North America. So those are the markets that I've had exposure to. Because we did a lot of Gamescom and stuff like that, because I was working on a strategy game. And
oh god, Gamescom.
yeah. When you put your hand into a pile of goo that used to be your best friend's face, then you've done Gamescom.
It's true. I would say it's about 190 to 195 countries.
I guess I'm still thinking in regions. I haven't gotten out of that.
I mean, fair enough. It's a good way of segregating the community. Why are no game-making toolkits aimed at elders? You're right. Why are no gaming-making toolkits aimed at elders?
I'm hoping...
What is the...
Oh, go for it.
What is the origin of the cryptic flight goats on your Twitter? Actually, my mom. My mom kept messaging me, Rami, are you okay? Rami, are you flying today? At some point I was like, Mom, I'll just tweet it. Then after a year or two, when she was used to me just flying all over the world, I just kept doing it. There's also a little bit more morbid reason. Because I fly so much, if an airplane that I'm on ever goes down, I don't want people arguing about whether I was on the airplane or not. Like, my flight number will be my last tweet in that case. It's kind of morbid, but I kind of like it.
I hope you never need it, but I understand.
I hope so too. Wait, Rami, is Will in games? Well, until we make him leave by making this entire stream like a multi-million-dollar industry, I think Will is in games. So if you want him out, just make sure he gets filthy rich, like filthy, not just a little bit, like. Donate, subscribe, like, you know the whole thing. Just get all your friends to do it.
Mate, I wouldn't know what to do with it if I had it. Poverty suits me much better.
Yeah, I'm very much in the same place. It's actually weird, like, dealing with all that. But that's a different question for a different time.
Oh god, yeah.
Let's try a few more. Let's try and rapid fire this.
Okay, rapid fire round. Go.
How do you keep from getting bounced in the games industry? You don't. You just keep bouncing until one time you don't bounce. It's honestly one of the least stable industries in the world. It's one of the reasons we're trying to unionize. If you haven't checked it out, check out the Game Workers Unite movement. Sign up, support them, unionize this industry. Maybe it'll be better in the future. It won't be a magic bullet. It won't be a magic bullet, but it might fix it.
Though I am going to petition that the Games Union anthem be Warframe's Wheel Lift.
Yes, agreed.
And yes, I know that song is about indentured prison servitude. I've been in QA. I've seen it. When you've seen your friend vomit tea on themselves through to madness and exhaustion. Sorry. Okay, rapid fire round. That's not what Will's doing. Rami, go!
All right. Let's see. Where are the questions? There they are. Pretty much everything you'll learn will be out of date by the time you finish. It's something I was told on my first day. That's cool that they told you. I hope they also taught you in that way. What would be the top games with emotional storytelling-wise revolutionary elements you would recommend for somebody who hasn't played games in 20 years to get him or her into games? It really depends on the person. I think Return of Obra Dinn does a really good job of narrative storytelling in a way that is unpredictable and slightly different.
Yeah.
But you can also check into games like Bury Me My Love, a lovely mobile game that uses a mobile interface. And honestly, if my mom, the reason I picked Final Fantasy 15 is because she just really likes the story of a bunch of boys fight against God. Yeah. And that's what that is. What is your favorite flavor of Monster Munch? I wish I knew what Monster Munch was. I will buy Monster Munch next time I see it.
UK puff snack. It's very good. On the emotional game, the Hex. Pick it up. No way.
Oh yeah, the Hex is really good.
Yeah.
Hex is really good.
I try not to rant about it too much, but I didn't see it on enough lists at the end of last year. You know what I'm saying? If
the colleges are behind, then what should one start at to even start moving towards the start line? keep being curious, keep working, keep trying to find new work, keep pushing.
Yeah.
No major company expects you to come in with all the knowledge you need, because most companies have custom tools or custom tool sets. Don't worry about having answers to all your questions, all their questions. Just make sure that you show that you're curious.
Hells yeah. That piece of paper in your hand will help you get in the door. It's worth it. You might get to skip having to do the QA phase.
Yeah, exactly. Better question is, how many do not have developers? The answer might be places like Zimbabwe and North Korea. I actually know for a fact that both Zimbabwe and North Korea have game development communities. I was actually surprised about North Korea. North Korea definitely has a game development community.
I've had no visibility on the game development community in that area, but I know about Zimbabwe from other African developers. So.
Yep. How many in meditations countries represented? I think it's over 60.
That's way cool.
What thing do you wish games would stop doing? Having their developers crunch.
Yep. It always hurts. Litorius, I would love to talk to Rami about blossoming marketplaces in the Epic Store, but that's not a quick fire question. One
thing I'll say.
Oh, go for it, dude.
The one thing I'll say on that is that the best thing that has happened to our space as independent creators has been the fragmentation of our communities, the fragmentation of our stores, the fragmentation of our distribution methods. The more there are, the better it is for us, because each niche, each community creates their own heroes, creates their own goals, creates their own successes, their own measures, and that's what we need, because right now, the indie space, the thing that people refer to as the indie space, has companies making huge games, has companies fighting each other on resources, prettier, bigger, more money, more people. And to me, it's important that there's also space for the experimental, that there's also space for the weird, that there's also space for the non-commercial. And seeing the community fragment in more and more ways, seeing the store pages, the storefronts fragment, seeing the distribution methods fragment, is incredibly helpful. That's where I want the industry to go. Not to be one thing, to be many things. Not to be centralized, but to be decentralized.
Hell yes. And if you are going into that space, start thinking about making your own community and your own communication platforms and your own ways of talking to people. Don't wait till you're launching. There's no time for modesty. I'm not saying hype yourself to the nines, but talk to people. Start making your community today.
Yep.
Sorry, that was a personal bugbear of mine.
Cool. I have to run.
Dude, I know today was crazy hectic for you. Thank you so much for making time for us.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for all the cool questions in chat, y'all. Really, really appreciated those. We should do this again, just like a giant rapid fire, and then just the two of us answering questions until we run out of questions.
Dude, I would love that. You
make
the time. You make the time. I'll bring the people. All right.
Good. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. And thanks, Will. So good to catch up. I hope I'll see you at GDC.
Feck yeah, you will. I'm going super indie, like floor sleeping and press pass this time. It's going to be great.
Sounds incredible.
All right, man. I'll see you soon.
Have a good one. Cheers.
Okie dokie. Ladies, gentlemen, and individuals, once again, a huge thank you to Rami Ismail there for being a freaking badass! We just got to talk about me! Yes!